You're listening to the Best Advice Podcast, guys. If you haven't already, give us a 5-star review and help spread the word. And if you have a question for the guys, email it to podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com. That's podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Security Financial Management and Morgan&Morgan.
Oh, welcome back to Best Advice Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Rob Lovaglio, here as always with Frank Lovaglio and Dave Allen. Please give a warm welcome to our special guest, Mr. Matt Morgan from Morgan&Morgan Law. Matt, what's crack-a-lackin'?
Hey, Rob. Thank you for having me.
And we're going to jump right into it today, folks, with the powerful practice of positive thinking, where I want to touch on one thing, Matt, that I've always admired about you. And that is your ability to consistently display authenticity.
Like anyone can play the part, right? Like anyone can shake the hands, kiss the babies, but to day in and day out show authenticity is one of the biggest things I see in differentiation between like a really successful man or a really successful woman. And the reason I believe that is because scientists are now saying you feel authenticity, you feel fakeness, right?
Right.
So if you're like having a conversation with someone, you look them in the eye, they're smiling, they're saying all the right things. Yeah. But you feel something.
Not real, though. Yeah, it's not.
You feel like you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Like, that's a feeling.
Right.
We know that because we know as humans, we emit frequency, right? When we have conversations. And we know through the laws of physics, specifically constructive interference, we know that when two frequencies of the same wavelength meet, right?
You're getting deep on me, Rob. You're getting deep on me.
That wavelength doubles. So when that doubles, you actually get energy from the person you're talking to. Now that person can also take away energy from you, right?
Right.
And it's the authenticity.
They call them energy zappers.
Right. Now I saw this. If you want to get more deep into it, I'm going to leave it at that. But it's called the Spain Scale of Emotion. Was a study. They took 25,000 people, basically put them in a big stadium, and they were able to measure the frequencies leaving these people's body. And what they found was that, first of all, the biggest desired frequency of humans is the frequency of authenticity, right? So that's why we feel it so much. It's actually 4,000 times more stronger than love, which was crazy. That blew my mind.
I'll give you the dad summary on that. And it's so true, being, low 60s. When you meet people, you either, when you're done with that meeting, I don't care if it's a brief meeting like this or you're out to lunch, you either leave feeling better about that whole occurrence or worse. And people that have positive energy and positive vibes turn out to be the most successful people because people are drawn to them. People are like, I want to be with that person. I want to be with Matt Morgan again. That's a good guy.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they feel it. And
you can't fake it.
You can't fake it. It's genuine or it's not.
Right. Listen to this one, Dad. You never remember what that person said to you. You always remember how that person made you feel.
There's a book on that. You remember the book you read 2 chapters and you were done?
Power of Positive Thinking.
I did the same thing on a book called Blink.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell. It's a lot of science and stuff, but the reality is within a very quick few seconds, you can tell if you like that person.
Right. And make judgments on that person.
Like that.
And you don't know why many times.
Right.
But sometimes it's the way they look. It's their manner, the way they shake your hand.
Your energy, your frequency match.
Right.
It's like this match.
Right. Right.
And you look like the bully in school. I don't know. And that turned them off.
Right.
People don't like your pointy nose because it hurts.
Right. I try not to bump into people. Jeez.
It's pretty smooth. It's smooth from this end.
It's straight, kind of straight.
It's true. Well, I've gotten pierced. It hurts.
Excuse me. Is that your nose or did a bus park on your face?
One of the things you said, I think is so true. And we all see this. Success is not that day. Success is a series of wins.
Right.
And it starts where
and
in high school you make, if you're athletic, like my family was Robert was the best of the 4, but you make that team and then you're the starter.
Right.
And then you get A's and B's and then it's high school time and now you're president of student council or whatever it is. I always think that success is a series of wins and that creates confidence and then confidence creates more wins.
Right.
So losing's a habit, but so's winning a habit. So when your parents were saying, if you want to be clean, then there's no glasses on the middle of the floor. If you want to win, you can't get B's. You got to get A's in there too.
Right.
And I think it's a pattern and then it just continues to go through your whole life.
Right.
Liz is, I'll brag on my wife. She's an A1 tennis player. Her record was 12-4 and it was 13-3 last year. And she's like, I'm 63. If I'm playing, I'm winning.
Right.
And then Rob hears that. And then my girls hear that. And they're like, well, shit, I got to win too.
Right.
And that becomes sort of a habit. And
Of course.
Parents did a great job with that.
100%.
Starts when you're a kid.
No, it's, there's that book, Atomic Habits. I think it's called, I don't know if you've read that one, but
What is the name of it?
I think it's called Atomic Habits. But, that's the premise of it. It's these little small choices compound on each other. And then they create the character and the person,
And it starts really early in life too.
Right.
You're just a baby. When they say you are who you are by 3 years old.
Right. Right. That's my sister's big on that because she's got a baby now that's 2 and 3 months. And she's like so focused on how she is now because she's like, once she's 3, I feel like she's going to be who she is.
No, that's right. That's exactly.
And it's scary because you can overdo that too. And you're wondering like, hey, let's get it going. Let's go.
Right.
I want you to rattle harder.
Jumping jacks. Right.
I'm wondering who they are. That's what they say.
How come you're walking so slow? Let's get that walk going. The kid's like, hey, I'm only one, man.
Right.
Son, once you start, there's no going back.
So Matt, obviously you grew up in a law firm, to say the least. Did you ever think about doing anything else? Or if you were not going to be a lawyer, was there something that was kind of tugging you the other way?
Yeah, there was, and it's unusual. I actually, I thought I was going to do it. I haven't done it yet, but I still might do it. I was doing terrible on the LSAT, in the prep courses for the LSAT. It's just, I've never been a good test taker. So I had to really work through getting through that. And I remember taking one LSAT and just bombing the practice. And I went back to my dad. I was like, man, if I'm bombing these tests, like maybe I'm not supposed to be a lawyer. Yeah. And I was like, what I've thought about and what I think I want to do is I want to go and take a group of, inner city is the wrong word for Orlando because we don't really have an inner city, but, go to an underserved community and take a group of, 35 kids and teach them from kindergarten all the way through high school and then follow that group of kids all the way out through their life.
That's cool.
And then repeat it again. And
the coolest thing I've ever heard.
And so, and
you have to have some money to do that.
Well, yeah, I walked into his office and I went to present this to him and I was like, this is what I think I want to do. And he just said, get out of the office. He said, go.
Like who's funding that project?
Yeah. He said, keep studying for the LSAT, but
You can leave now.
You can leave now. Yeah. So that was, I was always intrigued by taking a group of kids and kind of attempting to mold them and change their lives and change their trajectory. There's a guy named Shep Gordon that we're good friends with out in Maui. He was big in the music industry and he's kind of done that for a family. If you Google it, there's a documentary on him that Mike Myers did called Supermensch. And you can see Supermensch. He just, he fell in love with this woman and then kind of raised her children and changed the trajectory of all those children's lives. Just amazing guy. But that's kind of was what I would have done had I not done law.
But what's cool, Matt, is I love that idea. And you have that opportunity at some point in your life to do that. That could be part of your semi-retirement one day.
Right.
Is I'm going to take, now because the business has done so well and your business has been so successful, you'll have the opportunity and the resources to be able to give back in a huge way and not have to practice law one day. So I think you can, just in my mind, I'm like, you can still do that.
Right.
You can still do that one day. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's have you help. Let's team up on that. I've always wanted to do kind of that similar thing.
I'll keep working. You're not ready.
Just 10 guys.
Rob. No, go back to work. Yeah. This is extreme.
This is a fantasy, guy. Fantasy.
That's going to do. You go back to work.
I wanted to find 10 kids who obviously are
Rob.
don't do well, but get them at 6 years old and do AAU with them and have the same team at 7 under.
Right.
9 under.
And watch them
and watch them build with them and make sure they do all right.
Right.
You guys did some of that.
That's cool. We did a little bit of it.
Yeah. That was for you. It was my turn.
Yeah.
You give them one space.
I remember having 11 kids on my floor going, hey, what time we got to be at Disney? Well, Dad, at 6 o'clock, we got to get these guys up.
Well, we used to have a sports agency with this guy named Tom O'Connell and my dad. So
doing that now, right?
He does a little bit, but we sold out our interest to this guy, Tom O'Connell, but my son's a huge Mike Trout fan, and Trout was playing the Rays last week. And so I was like, hey, Tom, can you get us in the batting practice, maybe get an autograph? He did. Yeah. And that was huge for my son. That was like, this guy was like the biggest thing in the world to my son. But anyways, I said to Tom at the end of it, I was like, man, you've been in these baseball stadiums ever since I've known you, since like 1997 or something like that. I was like, how great has this been to still be in a ballpark, still doing what you love? And he's like, it's great. And I love the business. But what I love the most is all of the relationships that I've built, because they're all lifelong friends that are my best friends in life. So it's like, you can do well and do good at the same time, and form those relationships. That
beats our president of the water guns for his kids.
Are you sure you're ready for that? I mean, really ready?
I guess so.
All right. Well, we're going to end the show when we bring on top tier experts like yourself, Matt. We love to hear about their journeys and what was the best advice that they received that kind of scoped your successful journey.
Well, mine personally was my dad told me to become a trial attorney. In our field, most attorneys don't know how to try a case. And so for me personally, that was the best advice that I got, was become a real trial attorney. In other words, learn to go in front of a jury, learn to go in front of a judge, and be a real attorney.
Yeah. That's the hardest part, isn't it?
That's the hardest. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
You got to actually perform, sort of.
Yeah,
right?
you have to. It's a lot of theater.
It's like game day.
You're in the game, right?
And it's kind of the highest level, because you have to know the entire evidence code. You have to know every medical record in your case. You have to know all the procedure, all the motions in limine, and so
probably psychology to the jury, right? And
it's the thing about lawyers. They have to know everything about everything.
Yeah. You have to know everything about every one of those 6 jurors. You have to know their background. You have to craft arguments that would resonate with them. Right. But it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of the highest level of what we do is trial law. And so that's what, he said, 99% of people out there that you'll be competing with do not know how to try a case. If you can learn to try a case, you'll differentiate yourself.
Most of them, I feel like, have the confidence. That takes a lot of confidence.
So right.
Do that.
They settle before trial.
Yeah, they settle, and then they settle before they even file a lawsuit. Yeah. Most lawyers, and so the client really is underserved in that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the reason that was so impactful is because I learned how to do it. I've probably tried 50 or so first chair jury verdicts. I've had a lot of success in the courtroom. But then the key thing for that was then I was able to then take that, and now I can manage lawyers across the country. And when I give them recommendations, I'm not just kind of guessing. I'm saying, this is what I've done. This is what's been successful. And so they receive it.
It's not theory.
Better. And
it's like a great coach, Doc Rivers, because
he played. He was all-star.
He played. You're an all-star.
Right. And I still play. I tried a case in January, so, and that's how I won. Yeah. It's a really, right. Yeah. But the funny thing is, it's funny you say that, because before I went, in the middle of the trial, actually, we were having a thing down at a hotel. I left the trial to go present to like 1,000 lawyers, and they knew I was in trial. And the reason that was so impactful is because I knew I was going back to trial. Yeah. So all of my 1,000 lawyers knew that I was in trial. So if I lost,
teaching and
back to that pressure,
right? They're like, that guy's a loser. So during the trial, my heart, I was like, man, if I lose this case, because we broadcast our wins and losses to the whole firm, I was like, I cannot have a loss broadcasted. Otherwise, it'd be like if Doc was back in the game and, took the game-winning shot and bricked it,
And then, hey, I'm going to go coach. Like, you suck.
Yeah, what are you going to coach? You don't know how to play the game.
Yeah. All righty, Matt. We're going to let you get out of here now. We can't thank you enough. We always appreciate you, man, and we hope to see you back here soon. Remember, folks, the secret to wealth is not what you earn. It's what you keep. Happy days, everybody.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only and is not intended as personal financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please do your own research and consult a financial advisor as needed. If you have a question for the guys, email podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com.